every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. I am Abosedi Omowi, and here are top stories tonight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now to details of the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned recent political violence in Rivers State, saying that the killings of people over political differences is primitive, barbaric and unacceptable. President Buhari, during an interactive meeting with Nigerians resident in Equatorial Guinea in Malabo, noted that his administration will deal decisively with all sponsors of violence. The president also promised to do all within his powers to fulfill the desire of citizens resident abroad to vote in national elections, pointing out that the Independent National Electoral Commission will be encouraged to explore the possibility of Nigerians abroad voting in the 2019 general elections. The president also said that establishing a new national airline was not currently on the federal government list of priorities. President Buhari declared that his administration's main area of focus now was reducing the level of poverty in the country. The president said that developing the infrastructure needed to boost production in all sectors of the economy and create more jobs for young Nigerians, as well as other actions that would directly improve the living conditions of ordinary Nigerians, will continue to be prioritized by his administration. And now the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, has been speaking on the wanton killings in Rivers State arising from political intolerance. The IGP, while touring the Taraba State Police Command, says the police will fish out those behind the senseless killings that have taken place in the last couple of weeks in the state.
I have deployed man material to those areas, and I can assure you we are going to have a very peaceful elections. And all we just have to do is to appeal to the political elites that they should allow the process, to be peaceful. It is not there are many countries in the world where if you are going to conduct elections, it is not as policed as you do in Nigeria. Why do we have to deploy resources all the time when there's going to have an election? So the political elites should learn to play by the rules. They should learn to respect the rights of the citizens and allow the process to be seamless.
President Muhammadu Buhari in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, has received the highest national honor, Grand Collar of the Order of the Independence, and dedicated it to the people of Nigeria, who he said have worked tirelessly for peace in the country and Africa. The president at the investiture ceremony expresses profound gratitude for the honor given to him. He equally affirms that there has never been a time for greater neighborliness in the continent in the interest of peace, security and economic stability than now. President Buhari noted that as African countries face common challenges, they must strive to cooperate more to find workable solutions that will facilitate rapid socio-economic development on the continent. The president also pledges that under his leadership, Nigeria will continue to make significant contributions to peace, political stability, and progress in Africa. Now, the Senate is showing its recognition of the federal government's victory over the insurgents in the Northeast. A motion moved by the leader of the Senate, Ali Ndume, and 8 other senators is seeking interim financial and material support and assistance to internally displaced persons and returnees in Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno states. Correspondent Jamil Afegwa report on the day's proceedings at plenary.
The leader of the Senate kicked off the debate, noting that most of the local governments previously occupied by Boko Haram group are being recaptured by Nigerian security forces, particularly the army.
Need immediate and interim financial material assistance in terms of cash transfer and food relief to start their lives all over in the short term.
The Senate is also expressing worry that the IDPs ran away from their hometowns, leaving behind everything to the insurgents, and a number of them heading for Niger Republic, Chad, and the Cameroon. Monies have been and are still being donated to the Danjuma Foundation. Money also from the service-wide vote should also be channeled to the cause, according to some members.
Rather, I believe emphasis should be placed on completing action on the commission so that this money can be put in that commission, and the monies that the Danjuma committee or panel is also collecting can be put in this committee.
The 10 billion naira that is being proposed to be released in the appropriation, which commission are we really going to put it? In which commission? How is it going to be released? Who is the money going to be released to?
The Northeast Commission is being proposed by the National Assembly, and summing up what seemed to be the beginning of reconstructing the Northeast, the President of the Senate is commending the security forces.
As we do it, 2 things we should recognize is that we must commend the efforts of the security forces, because without their own effort, the issue of the IDPs even going back to their villages and towns.
The Senate, in its resolutions, is directing its Committee on Appropriation to immediately allocate the sum of 10 million naira under the service-wide vote for relocation and resettlement of the IDP returnees in Yobe, Adamawa, and Borno, and is also asking the federal government to release grains from the strategic grain reserve to the affected states. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Now, if the organizations that have saddled themselves with the responsibility of protecting human rights are being looked upon as defending the right of terrorists, then there is a problem. Amnesty International is coming under serious attack from human rights groups, calling on it to stop its campaigns against the Nigerian military and its fight against insurgency in the Northeast. The Human Rights Writers Association has been expressing its dismay at Amnesty. Jamil Afegwa now reports.
Towards the end of the former President Goodluck Jonathan's regime, Amnesty International released a video of what it termed human rights abuse against members of the Boko Haram terrorist group. The video indicted some service chiefs, including former Army Chief Ihejirika. Emmanuel Nwobiko, president of Horiwa, is asking why, rather than look at crimes committed by Boko Haram, are they waging war against the military?
Amnesty continuously they're continuing to spew out hate messages against the Nigerian army in such a very critical time like this, when everybody knows that the attack by terrorists has not abated.
Amnesty International also has a moral duty to join the campaigns to bring back the girls from Chibok, but they are ready to protest for Boko Haram group. Again, Nwobiko is asking why.
Amnesty should ashamed of themselves. Amnesty should also organize a global, just like what people who have who like Nigeria to survive as a country did when some of our girls were kidnapped, Chibok girls. How many times has Amnesty International organized a conference to remember the memory, to remember these girls that have been kidnapped, or I don't know, human beings?
The group is also calling on the Human Rights Commission to concentrate on giving Nigeria a good picture of the war on terror to the international community.
The Human Rights Commission, would have released extensive report on how our soldiers are battling the Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast. You understand? And counter what these Amnesty International people are doing.
The Nigerian army was recently asked by government to investigate human rights abuses relating to it. The report of the investigation has been shown to Amnesty International. Jamila Febwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Legal tussle between the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and Ricky Tafa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, over allegations bordering on willful obstruction of an officer of the Commission while carrying out his duty and attempting to provide justice, resumed on Tuesday at the Federal High Court, Ikoyi, Lagos. The presiding judge, Justice Aishat Okpesanwo, accepts evidence brought before the court by the agency and thereafter adjourns the case till March the 21st. Akin Obakeye brings more.
In December 2013, Ricky Tafa, on behalf of two of his clients, had filed fundamental rights enforcement suits at the Federal High Court, Lagos, against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Both cases was presided over by Justice Mohammed Yunusa, who awarded 10 million naira as damages against the agency in a judgment delivered on September 8, 2015. However, the EFCC brought up fresh charges and got court injunction to rearrest Ricky Tafa's client, Nahal Suru Nazare, a move resisted by the SAN by willfully keeping his client in his car for over 4 hours, thereby denying the agency from carrying out its duties by law. The anti-graft agency since filed a suit for willful obstruction and later gathered intelligence that Tafa had been reaching out to Justice Mohammed Yunusa in a bid to get favorable judgment. This resulted in a second charge filed for attempting to pervert justice. The case came up for hearing on Tuesday as counsel to EFCC, Shitu Wahab, reacts to the judge's ruling.
So this is a technical victory for EFCC because the court has stayed proceedings pending the outcome of the criminal trial. The court also made some other pronouncements that the car and then the handset have been registered as SCBs.
Counsel to Ricky Tafa, however, refused to speak outside of the courtroom. EFCC indicates it is not perturbed by accusations of bias from certain judicial quarters.
The solidarity should not be seen as an attempt to antagonize EFCC, and it should not be construed as such. I'm simply happy that the judicial process is in motion and that justice has been served at the end of the day.
The case has been adjourned till March 21, 2016. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
In other reports from the court, a former Niger Delta militant leader, Government Ekpemokpolo, alias Tom Polo, is calling for the withdrawal of Justice Ibrahim Buba of a federal high court in Lagos from the fraud charges filed against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. In a statement on Tuesday, one of Tom Polo's counsels, Ebolu Adegboruwa, noted that his client's brief of argument was entered at the Court of Appeal last Friday and the EFCC had been served. Tom Polo is thus asking the Court of Appeal to set aside the warrant for his arrest and vacate all subsequent proceedings emanating from the alleged flawed process of the criminal charge. The consequence of this in law is that Tom Polo's case is now before the Court of Appeal, with the concomitant effect that the Federal High Court will willingly cede jurisdiction over Tom Polo's case to the Court of Appeal, since the appeal has now been entered in the Court of Appeal. The EFCC is charging Tom Polo and 9 others with an alleged fraud of 45.9 billion naira. And our former head of service, Steve Oronsaye, has pleaded not guilty to a 2-count charge of fraud and criminal conversion of 900 million naira. Oronsaye is alleged to have committed the crime while he was chairman of the Presidential Committee on Financial Action Task Force. After his plea, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission asked for a later date to commence the trial, but the counsel to Oronsaye, however, rejected the application, asking the court to commence with the trial immediately. After some cross-examinations, the court adjourned further hearing till April the 13th and 14th. The trial judge, Justice Olasumbo Goodluck, however, granted bail to Oronsaye in the sum of 10 million naira, with 2 sureties in the sum of 5 million naira each. The 2 sureties must be resident in Abuja and must be serving or retired civil servant not less than a director in the Federal Civil Service or its agencies. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still ahead, the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, asks officers and men of the Nigeria Police Force to understand the socio-economic environment by respecting the rights of citizens. Details of this and other reports in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Join the Airtel family today and get 5 times the value of every recharge. Recharge with *555 *PIN# on the Airtel network and feel at home. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. Let's take another look at our top stories. For more on our top stories, all the news and information, kindly visit our social media platform, facebook.com/CoreTV News, on Twitter @CoreTV News NG, and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV News. Let's move on now to some other reports. The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, has asked officers and men of the Nigeria Police Force to understand the socio-economic environment by respecting the rights of every citizen. Speaking at the Taraba State Police Command as part of his tour of duty, the Inspector General says the force must, in the discharge of their duties, uphold the fundamental rights at all times. Odua Godwin gives us details of the report.
To boost the capabilities of the Nigerian police, particularly now that the country is battling the menace of kidnapping and insurgency, the IGP restated his commitment to continue to drive reforms and strategic transformation of the force in order to reposition it for efficiency and effectiveness in its service delivery, advising against police officers' disrespect for human rights by breaking the law instead of enforcing it.
It is very, very important for you to key into the traditional institutions, because these people are the custodian of our norms and values. They understand the terrain, they understand the history, they understand succession laws.
The state police boss is, however, noting that the command is embracing the human rights vision as rights of detainees and individuals, as enshrined in Chapter 5 of 1999 Constitution, are being respected by members of the force.
With the recent restructuring of SARS under your leadership, sir, over 75 suspects have been apprehended within the state of various offenses, and most of them are already charged to call for prosecution.
And as far as the business of policing is concerned in this country, we are fulfilled, we are covered, and we are accomplished.
Challenges facing the command were raised by members of the police force. The visit is expected to improve the efficiency of the officers and men towards achieving organizational set goal. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Jalingo.
It appears Benue State will not be the last to have a brush with Fulani herdsmen, as the management of the Federal Polytechnic at Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State is crying out over loss of its farmland to Fulani cattle rearers. The school authority says threats from grazing animals and the herdsmen makes it imperative to call for immediate intervention from relevant agencies at this time. Rashid reports.
2 major events are scheduled for day 4, that is Wednesday.
This press briefing is to precede the convocation ceremony of Federal Polytechnic at Ado-Ekiti. Hence, the surprise to discover that of more concern to the management of the institution is an alleged destruction of agricultural produce and subsequent threats to members of staff by Fulani cattle rearers.
Our plantation, both the oil palm plantation, maize plantation, they've all been destroyed by the cattle of these Fulani rearers. And anytime they are accosted by security men, they threaten them with guns and machetes.
The school management appeals to relevant agencies to step in before things get out of hand.
To help us to, highlight this problem, so that the authorities in Abuja we know that the problem is not localized to the middle belt of Nigeria alone. That even in Ado-Ekiti, we also have the problem of the menace of the cattle flying.
Academia looks forward to a successful convocation ceremony which holds later this week, and the hope that the alleged incursion of Fulani herdsmen will be addressed speedily. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado-Ekiti.
The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, says Nigeria must meet the July 2017 deadline set for digital switchover from analog broadcasting. He made this known while inaugurating a ministerial task force charged with the responsibility to ensure that the third deadline for the switchover is met. He said the process made by the National Broadcasting Commission, which has managed the process of the digital switchover through the years, must be built upon and concluded this time around. The minister warned that Nigeria's failure to meet the deadline will cause economic losses for the country and create a gap in the telecommunication and broadcast sector, as well as violate an international treaty on digitization. Good news is here for proponents of renewable energy in Nigeria, as the federal government says it will soon put modalities in place to ensure the development of the sector. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says the ministry is putting in place operational guidelines to ensure the optimal use of the nation's renewable energy sources. And in other reports, Nigeria's development will be admired if the growth that was evident in the last few years continues to produce unproductive jobs like it did, especially in transformative tertiary sectors like the services and retail sector. The World Bank says more productive jobs are needed to ensure that the nation pulls more people out of poverty like other nations who have witnessed same growth. Correspondent Kozim Kasali has more in this report.
More and more productive jobs, that's the buzzword from the World Bank in its report on jobs, competitiveness and skills in Nigeria. Presenter of the report, Kathleen Bigo, says jobs are not enough but productive jobs that will pull more Nigerians out of poverty. Speaking to the Nigerian World Bank Knowledge Forum, she says that though more Nigerians are getting jobs, but that those jobs are in sectors that are not productive.
Economic diversification will continue to need to be promoted. Girls need to be brought into schooling and young women into productive employment. Now that's a challenge after young women have already left school. So we always face this challenge of how do we address working age.
For his part, this university don says the nation is suffering from a dearth of decent jobs. He added that the growth seen in the country in recent past is not sustainable since it is being driven by unproductive sectors. He called for a better synergy on the part of policymakers and others to ensure that the nation's infrastructure deficit is addressed.
If you don't use that labor force
it can become a challenge for you. You have a lot of people looking for work, and they're not getting jobs. That will raise all kinds of issues, including security.
With questions from participants on what needs to be done to address the glaring deficit, both the World Bank representative and the university teacher have this to say.
The climate change program has all kinds of instruments which we could access. Unfortunately, Nigeria has not been able to access this technology, these opportunities, because we don't have projects designed to actually access this.
I didn't focus a lot on in this presentation, but it's in the report, the spatial imbalances between the North and the South in Nigeria, and the need to think about spatial appropriate policies based on geography, if you will. And that was a theme that came up yesterday.
With the calls growing for a generic plan to better manage the nation's economy and ensure that industrial activities to transform raw materials into finished products truly develop, it is hoped that the much-needed synergy for the development of the nation's economy takes root and pulls the nation to its rightful place in the Committee of Nations. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
As part of its advocacy to enlighten the public on the menace of counterfeit and fake products, the Consumer Rights Protection Council has enjoined consumers to follow prescribed standards in product purchase. Speaking at this year's World Consumer Rights Day, the Director General of the Council, Modukpe Atoki, advised consumers to stop the habit of self-medication and follow prescribed dosage usage in the administration of drugs. And now the Lagos State government says that all buildings constructed by the Lekki Gardens are to undergo stability tests to ascertain their structural integrity. The state governor, Akinwumi Ambode, gave the directive shortly after inspecting the site of the collapsed building, which was under construction by the Lekki Gardens. He disclosed that any building found to be defective would be demolished, adding that since the unfortunate incident, the state government had taken several steps to stem the tide of building collapse. Governor Ambode said his administration is determined not to fail in the responsibility of ensuring the safety of lives and property of its citizens. And now over 100 medical students affected by the raise in cut-off marks by the University of Lagos Authority have called on the federal government to intervene in the sudden decision reached by the institution. Education Rights Campaign, a non-governmental organization, the student as well as their parent, while addressing newsmen in Lagos on Tuesday, urged the school to reconsider its stance, arguing that the move will only jeopardize the students' dream of becoming medical doctors. Victoria Solomon files in this report presented from our studios.
Solidarity forever.
Some medical students at the University of Lagos on February 10 this year protest the institution's decision to increase the mandatory cut-off marks for proceeding to Year 2. By implication, the 102 students who fall below this year's newly defined standard will either have to change their courses of study or quit UNILAG outrightly.
We are not ready to relent in our fight against this injustice. We've even refused to register for the supposed courses that they've posted us into. They've been intimidating us by giving us about 2-3 deadlines.
Education Rights Campaign, ERC, a non-profit organization, believes UNILAG authority has not been fair.
We demand that they be allowed to proceed to the College of Medicine, the entry requirement of which they have successfully met. By killing their dreams, it is Nigeria and Nigerians who urgently need more doctors, more nurses, and other health professionals that we are killing in the last analysis.
The students are calling on the government to intervene.
We all have to fight this thing together, and the government also should help us because they are just trying to truncate people's destiny. People are not stable. All I want is that the government should look into this. The slots that were supposed to be given to us was given to the diploma students because they pay far more than us.
So I just want the government to just see into this injustice and let it just stop. If not, to continue like that and to keep affecting people. They keep giving, UNILAG keep giving diploma students more priority than the bona fide students. They didn't go through JAM, that's why they are coming through diploma. So they should just do like a supplementary, as I think.
In solidarity, parents of the affected students stand with their wards on the journey to actualize their educational goal of becoming medical doctors.
Affected and aggrieved parents, we are going to resort to the law courts while the campaign continues, because we have tried to reason with the authorities that they should reverse this wicked and evil decision. But since they have chosen to remain adamant, we are left with no alternative but to seek the law courts.
Unilag medical students usually proceed to the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, LUTH, in Idiaraba, after spending their first year at the Akoka main campus of the university, where they study until eventual graduation and induction as doctors.
Hundreds of unified tertiary matriculation examination candidates gathered at the Lagos State House of Assembly in Alausa to protest the poor conduct of the just concluded 2016 examination. The students carrying placards with different inscriptions expressing their displeasure at the conduct of the examination described it as a sham. The candidates called for the release of their real result and the removal of JAMB's registrar, Dibu or Jerinde. And now, the need to value gender differences within the Nigerian context has endeared women and members of the Center for Black and African Art and Civilization to create a networking scheme to protect the women folk. While speaking at a symposium in Lagos, Onari Duke, wife of former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, emphasizes the importance of a symbiotic relationship to enable an exploration of potentials inherent in every gender. Sarah Ayeko reports.
The word parity in the theme for this year's International Women's Day may sound feministic. However, it is not. Adopting Pledge for Parity as a thrust for celebrating the achievement of women in 2016 has inspired the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization to demand for a synergy between both gender.
Men were in charge of society at some point in time. Their conception or definition of reality will be from their own perspective. If women refuse to query or interrogate that kind of culture, it will continue to stay like that.
Meanwhile, living in a multi-ethnic country as Nigeria, and the communality of women in each society may not assure gender equality.
We do not, ask or expect any pity from the men folk, because we have no problem. We are not less than, human. We are just as much of a human as the men are.
As discussions continue on this theme, beyond the March 8th to 15th set aside as International Women's Week, questions on the productivity of women as against men get constantly asked.
Looking after the man, looking after the children, looking after the home, and you still have to gain your self-actualization. So with these two assignments there, it makes it so difficult for a woman to really explore all her potentials.
The fight for gender equality probably became prominent at the popular Beijing conference held by women from different countries in China in the year 1995. Revolution, if that's what you call it, then that's what it is. All women want is to be equally represented in every sphere of life. Sarah Ayeku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Some piece of good news here. Peace has returned as residents settle back in at Agility, Maidon area of Mile 12, Lagos State, after the March the 3rd mayhem that left destruction of lives and property in its wake, although not without the presence of security agents. Amid discussions on possible relocation of the market to forestall a recurrence, residents are also clamoring for government intervention for individuals who suffered loss. Sarah Ayeko visited the area and gives us a situation report.
If you are walking, you are wrong. You don't take your time. You are too big to run, Abi. Okay? This mama, you are doing at walking. You are one village.
Under strict supervision by law enforcement agents. 6 o'clock is curfew time for residents in the Agility Maidon area of Mile 12, Lagos. This follows the violence of March 3rd, which left at least 6 persons dead and property worth millions of naira destroyed. Business owners display their wares. Residents go about their daily activities, reflecting the normalcy has returned to the area. Meanwhile, the people's lamentations over state government's reaction echoes.
We have been there almost 5 times, but today we asked to come there today. We need the help from the government. Up to now we have not had anything, but we are still moving forward. So we have been to party today, even today. So we want you to help us.
I was being the parties 2 times now. The government have not. Even today I was there. Government have not even do anything about it.
From the government, the intervention, should I say, I don't think there is any intervention, because even the so-called governor, he didn't try at all.
In the course of the pandemonium that erupted on that fateful Thursday, this electricity mast was affected, and now residents express fear as it might collapse and cause more harm.
A doubt of this thing, this pole, don't fall by itself. If it fall by itself, it will affect many lives. We need government to send their expatriates to come and look at it, to give us rest of mind.
Amidst all the losses recorded in the Agility-Maidan clash in Mile 12 area of Lagos State, the business has however returned to the Mile 12 axis. However, the people are clamoring for the state government to come to their aid as they count their losses. Sarah Ayeku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Let's now talk election. The Independent National Electoral Commission is rescheduling the Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections, earlier scheduled for Saturday, March the 19th, 2016, to now hold on Saturday, April the 9th, 2016. The resident electoral commissioner for the FCT, Jacob Jatau, announced the rescheduling at an emergency stakeholders meeting. Jatau, explaining the reason for the rescheduling of the elections, says the commission is committed to ensuring the conduct of free, fair and credible elections. It is also determined to deliver qualitative electoral services to Nigerians resident in the FCT. The REC also says the Commission has reviewed its preparedness to guarantee the required result and, in keeping with its policy on transparency, decided to brief stakeholders on the challenge it is encountering in the recruitment of ad hoc workers for the election. According to the REC, the Commission had been collaborating well and enjoying a cordial relationship with the National Youth Service Corps. But till now, the Commission has not been able to get the required number of Corps members for the election scheduled for March the 19th, 2016. Jatau says, given this challenge, the Commission is beginning consultations with the authorities of the University of Abuja to get the balance of the required number of ad hoc workers, which has been received, but it is not possible to adequately train and deploy them for the exercise, prompting the shift in date. Still ahead on CoreTV Primetime News, the first of Russia's aircraft has departed Syria. Details of this and all the reports from outside Nigeria in just a moment. To join us again.
Join the Airtel family today and get 5 times the value of every recharge. Recharge with *555* PIN hash on the Airtel network and feel at home. Airtel, the smartphone network.
So glad to have you back. Now to report from outside Nigeria. The first of Russia's aircraft has departed Syria following the surprise pull-out order from President Vladimir Putin. The statement from Russia's defense ministry came a day after Putin announced the withdrawal of most Russian forces from Syria, timing this move to coincide with the resumption of Syria peace talks in Geneva. The start of the negotiations in Switzerland on Monday offered Putin an opportune moment to declare an official end to the 5.5-month Russian air campaign, which has allowed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's army to win back key ground and strengthen its positions ahead of the talks. Moscow did not indicate when the first planes were scheduled to leave, nor how many aircraft and troops would be withdrawn. With Russia's main goals in Syria achieved, the withdrawal will allow Putin to pose as a peacemaker and help to ease tensions with NATO member Turkey and the Gulf monarchies vexed by Moscow's military action. In other news, Kim Jong-un says North Korea will soon conduct a nuclear warhead test and test launch ballistic missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Kim made the comment as he supervised a successful simulated test of atmospheric re-entry of a ballistic missile that measured the thermodynamic structural stability of newly developed heat-resistant materials. State media reports reveal that such tests would be in defiant violation of United Nations sanctions that were recently strengthened with the backing of China, North Korea's chief ally. Meanwhile, South Korea's defense ministry says it does not believe that North Korea had acquired missile re-entry technology. South Korea's defense ministry spokesman Moon Sang-yeon notes that if North Korea puts this into action, it certainly violates the United Nations Security Council resolution, and it is a grave provocation against the Korean Peninsula and the international community. And now, Tin Kyaw, a close confidant of Myanmar's Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, has been chosen as the new president in the latest step towards democracy after decades of military rule. Tin Kyaw, 69, was elected president by parliament as the opposition National League for Democracy Party takes power on April the 1st. Until last week, Tin Kyaw was hardly a household name, and most people in Myanmar would not have seen him becoming president of the country's first democratically elected government in more than a half-century. Tin Kyaw secured 360 votes from among 652 ballots cast in the bicameral parliament, winning a strong majority. And our Mother Teresa of Calcutta, a nun who dedicated her life to helping the poor, will be made a saint of the Roman Catholic Church at a ceremony on September the 4th. The announcement made today has been expected after Pope Francis approved in December a second miracle attributed to Mother Teresa's intercession, the final hurdle to make her a saint. The actual date falls on the eve of the 19th anniversary of her death. The Vatican said the ceremony would take place at the Vatican, dashing hopes of Indians that Francis would go to Kolkata, as Calcutta is now called, to perform the ritual. Teresa, who was born Agnes Gongzea Bojiu of Albanian parents in 1910 in what was then part of the Ottoman Empire and is now Macedonia, became an international figure, but was also accused of trying to convert people to Christianity. Let's now talk sports. In sports at this time, the Nigeria Olympic Committee is organizing a strategic meeting seminar for all the general secretaries of national sports federations. The program, which holds between Wednesday 16th through Thursday 17th of March, is expected to expose participants to the use of strategic management in their various federations to deliver expected goals. The Secretary General of the Nigeria Olympic Committee, Tunde Popola, says the seminar will enable the NOC and national sports federations to identify their goals, implement their vision, mission, and values to achieve optimum goals. Nasarawa United are set for the second leg tie of the CAF Confederation Cup first round against CS Constantine, slated for Saturday. The team, comprising 32 persons, will strive to protect their own 0-0 home win recorded at Abuja National Stadium last Sunday. The chairman of the Lafia side, Isaac Danladi, says the players have been told that they need to forget about the 1-0 advantage and strive to start on a clean slate in Algeria to ensure that they scale through the hurdle called CS Constantine. That's it on sports and on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, let's take another look at the top stories. Many thanks to you for being a part of CoreTV Primetime News today. I am Abosedi for Maui.